as a millennial, we have a hard enough hill to climb with just having enough uh, experience for these jobs, even though they say they want you to be entry level job. So they'll pay you entry level, but they're not really looking for you to be actually entry level.
Highest share of the unemployed in nearly 40 years, with only 30% of recent graduates securing full-time jobs in their field of study.
Jesus.
Yet despite 98% of HR leaders claiming they struggle to find talent, 89% refuse to hire Gen Z, raising the question, why is the most educated generation in history becoming ghosted by minimum wage jobs?
Wow.
Well, you'd think that with each modern generation facing a worse job market than their parents, with nearly half of the entire workforce unable to afford even a minimal quality of life, that as Gen Z voices their frustrations over facing the worst entry-level job market in nearly 4 decades.
And it's what is even crazier is like, just in my own personal, right? I graduated in 2023. Still haven't found a job in my field or an entry-level job that I could use with my degree. And I feel like I am like I said, most of 75% of these people who went to school thought it was gonna help, and that's what they like are brainwashed you to do, and now you're stuck like, what's next? Thankfully, I have social media, but not everyone does. Truthfully, not everyone does.
The worst layoff since the Great Recession, the second straight year of historic job revisions, the majority of H-1B approvals actually going to entry-level positions, only to then be told the job market has never been stronger, that all of this decay would finally be enough to force a nation to confront a system that has failed generation after generation. But instead, society refuses to evolve, dismissing it all as laziness and entitlement.
They don't want to work. They're spoiled brats. They've grown up in a world where it's everyone gets a trophy generation, and like the idea of showing up and going through traffic and being at the office at 8:45 and working till 6, they look at you like you got 10 heads to it. They think everything's on a silver platter. So it's very hard to motivate these people. They're really lazy, entitled losers.
So while Gen Z...
No, I think honestly they're just wanting more and a better life that's actually sustainable, instead of to have the life that our parents had. I saw my parents work 16-hour shifts to come home to work another 16 after coming home only for 8. And you only get to sleep probably 6 of those, because you have to come home, shower, eat, see your family for maybe like 20-30 minutes, and then go back in. That hustle culture that our parents and our ancestors went through, a lot of, Gen Z definitely doesn't want to do it, but millennials don't want to work like that either. Let's just keep it a buck.
Will apparently be forced to endure the same stereotypes as every previous generation. The reality is that this employment crisis largely stems from the complete gutting of entry-level jobs. Despite overwhelming evidence that AI is nowhere near fully automating the job market, with MIT finding that 95% of generative AI pilots at companies are failing, alongside the majority of AI layoffs now resulting in rehires,
No, they definitely need to go touch grass.
Of more than 600 recruiters worldwide, with over half coming from Fortune 100 or Fortune 500 companies, found that 1/3 of employers are nevertheless replacing entry-level jobs with AI. Even if those responses were simply an attempt to inflate investor confidence and boost stock prices, a separate Resume.org survey found that by 2027, 47% of employers expect to eliminate entry-level roles entirely, which means that whether AI actually works and unemployment skyrockets, or it completely backfires and results in a reduction in household wealth worse than 2008, the outcome remains the exact same as it always has. The burden falls on the generation entering the workforce. To better understand the long-term repercussions eliminating entry-level jobs has on Gen Z and the future of the job market, I spoke with Brian Creeley, a corporate recruiter, hiring manager, HR professional for some of the world's largest companies, career coach, and creator of the YouTube channel, A Life After Layoff.
The funnel into an organization is really supposed to be, you give people the baseline opportunities to not only just learn the technology and demonstrate those skills so that they can move into more advanced roles in an organization, but it's also to learn corporate culture. That base level is, you're supposed to be sitting in those meetings with the more senior people and taking notes and observing through osmosis. And if they're going to eliminate that entire thing,
from people around you,
what is the leadership going to look like? The senior level positions in an organization in 5 years, in 10 years.
Facts.
At the same time, they're also eliminating the middle managers. So it's like you're being squished. So now you've got these senior level people these executives are loving it because they get to, they get to make money rain, they get their bonuses and all this stuff. But I don't know if they're actually thinking through the big picture of, you're eliminating the development of the youngest generations, and
Yep.
you're also eliminating the middle manager positions for these senior level people to move into. So now you're basically creating a single band of people who are stuck in a very narrow range of roles. That's not entry level, that's not leadership, it's in between. And then you've got this executive kind of like sitting up in an ivory tower making these decisions. So what's going to look
And
like
it's
in
like,
10
how do
years
you
from
get
now
up there
when
without working
there
your
is
way
that
up
crunch?
there
And
when
now
there's no
all
way to
these
work
senior
up there?
executives are retiring.
Of investment and gutting of entry-level jobs existed long before the AI race. The unfortunate
Yeah,
reality is Gen
facts.
Z is also competing for these limited positions against older, more experienced, and overqualified workers being forced to accept entry-level pay. According to Stanford's Digital Economy Lab, employment among Gen Z workers aged 22 to 25 declined by 16% in the occupations most exposed to artificial intelligence, while older workers in those same occupations continued filling those roles instead. Today, 2/3 of all entry-level roles are filled by workers with over 7 years of work experience, while
Wow.
61% of full-time entry-level positions require 3 to 5 years of experience.
That says a lot. That basically you're saying that like the older folks that were supposed to be moving up never got their chance to move up. So they're stuck in the entry level. So then you're trying to come in and take their job, but they've been there 15, 20, 10 years. So it's like they have all the experience that you don't have, and you're not going to get that job over them. And it's only entry level, anyways, basically.
The Federal Reserve suggests this could be the result of decades of career and wage stagnation, as
Yeah.
traditional routes for career advancement, such as job hopping, now provide little financial benefit, ultimately creating a compressed career ladder where 52% of graduates are underemployed within a year of graduation,
Wow.
while a study by the Burning Glass Institute found that 73% will remain underemployed a decade later.
The candidate who's coming into that interview, who maybe had that capability, who has that competency, who has that potential, just doesn't have a resume to prove it, now has that stigma going against them of like, well, you're not hireable, you're not good, you're not going to be a good fit for us. Because I've heard those conversations.
That, and it's like you're going into like one of these ATS systems, automatic applying systems, and if they flag you as bad, that could stay in the system for like they say up to 330 days for some places. And you're not applying to just one job, you're applying to multiple jobs at once, because if that same job or the job around you is looking for that, and you say you don't have it in one, now you're screwed for all the other 1,000, because it's almost like a credit check, right? When it checks your credit and you haven't done nothing, so it'll take you forever to get it back up. But once you get that hit, it'll knock you down so fast you won't know what to do. Exactly. It's definitely not entry level if you need at least 5 years of experience, but they still want to pay you only 40,000, 45,000. And you're in a big metropolitan area where, the cost of living is higher. It's crazy. It's so crazy.
Heard hiring managers making stories up about people based on what's on their resume or what they've achieved in the past.
Wow.
And they start creating these stories. Well, this guy's not hireable. This guy's not promotable. He didn't get promoted at his last job. If he was truly a high performer, why didn't this other company or these other two companies ever recognize their capability?
That's so
and I
unfair.
would like look at them and say, like, how do you know what this person has or hasn't done or is capable of without even looking at them? Just you're telling a story. Maybe the whole story
Facts.
isn't on a piece of paper. Maybe the whole story isn't my bias toward what I think this candidate career should have looked at like, because when I started my career, things looked a lot different.
And to prove just how
Thank
deep
you.
the stigma actually is, LinkedIn's own algorithm has been shown to suppress profiles with employment gaps, while ATS services and job platforms suppress or automatically reject applicants working lower wage jobs such as grocery store clerks or restaurant servers because in the eyes of many employers, they signal class.
See, so you're automatically now you have automatically a system working against you that you can't even beat, because it automatically is like, oh, we don't want that. So we're in an age where it's like, do I lie about where I was, because honestly, I just got to get to an interview. I just got to get to an interview because at this point, getting to an interview is like 60% of the battle, 60-70% of the battle. Then that other 30% is closing those interviews to get to the job.
Resulting in a labor market where Gen Z is fundamentally trapped in a cycle of low-paying jobs with little opportunity for advancement.
Yep.
Today, Gen Z accounts for 55% of all multiple job holders, the highest share of
But
any
you don't
generation
wanna
in
work,
well
you're
over a decade,
lazy.
leaving 83% reporting burnout, while 61% have delayed or avoided preventative health screenings. And while I
Exactly.
totally understand delaying medical care due to the concern of cost or time, take it from me, someone who was told by 2 separate doctors that spitting up blood was not an issue and almost died in his apartment due to actually having undiagnosed factor V, that your health is the most important thing in your life. Which is why I'm very grateful to be partnered with today's sponsor, ZocDoc, who care
Bro.
precision today, but just than having an honest conversation about collapsing entry-level jobs, crushing student loan debt, competition against older workers, rampant automation, and the rising cost of living, society's solution for Gen Z has simply become go into the trades. Despite having spent years covering the decline of vocational education and the stigma surrounding blue-collar work, I still believe the trades are an excellent career path for many people.
Facts.
But pretending that they can absorb an entire generation will only recreate the exact same bottlenecks that white-collar workers are already facing. A new Wallet Hub study ranking the best and worst entry-level jobs in America found that trade careers dominate the bottom of the list based on immediate opportunity, growth potential, and job hazards, while also ranking among the nation's least happy occupations.
Wow.
But more importantly, nearly every single one of my friends who are in the trades have recently been telling me that if they were to enter their trade today, without their years of experience, their industry connections, or overall reputation, they are convinced they would not be able to find a job because of increased competition and an overall economic downturn in their industry. So while Gen Z has affected...
Unless you're like well, it depends on what you do. They're going to find a robot that can work 24 hours because they'd rather pay the electricity bill than pay you a livable wage. And that's sad because that's what America's like.
Bruh. Become the test dummies for AI in both classrooms and entry-level careers, only to be turned around and called lazy and entitled, despite working more jobs simultaneously than any previous generation. With society's only real solution becoming go into the trades, it is crucial that if we care at all about the future of our nation and the children who have no idea the economy they're about to inherit, we begin having honest conversations about how to actually course correct before another generation is forced to pay an even worse price.
Yeah.
This is the Google AI Professional Certificate.
Yeah, it's going to be way worse for them. Well, it's bad for us, but it's going to be even worse for all our 16, 17, 18-year-old. Your little brothers, your little sisters, they got it bad.
Fortunately, I know people are
I
not going to want to hear this, but I think that this is going to be the new norm. Like, I don't think that we're going to return to a job market. Like, some people are like holding out, like, well, eventually things will improve.
No, it won't.
They may, because things break completely and you have to rebuild, but like what's the pain involved in that? That's a much bigger, like, Great Depression level kind of event. I know some people will throw out like, well, we just need universal basic income. I have my own strong opinions about that. There's not necessarily a clear end game that looks great, and like I'm not trying to be doom and gloom about this. I do think that there's still, if you take faculty of your own career, you're really driving things. You treat it like you are the CEO of a business of one. You build multiple, people don't like to hear this, but you got to build multiple streams of income so that you're not beholden to any one single paycheck and single employer, that you're not knee-jerk reactioning. You actually build your career with an actual strategy. There is a process to do that. And so many people do not do that, mainly because they're never taught that in university or wherever. They kind of just it's like throwing the baby bird out of the nest and saying, figure it out yourself.
Throw you to the fire and tell you to go do gen eds.
Not surprisingly, don't really do a good job of that. But I just don't see that this is a fixable problem without there being a wholesale change in how we approach, like, and I'm not just saying like we as the job seeker, I'm saying is like society looks at what role the human being plays in where we want this society to go in the future.
And so what I hope that we're beginning to recognize is that as a society, if we have any desire to have the future be just a little bit better than today, to have the future be just a little bit better than the past 4 decades,
Yeah.
we have to stop putting these blanketed statements on every single massive systemic decay that has been causing issues for as long as we can remember. I just cannot understand for the life of me how every generation emerging into adulthood, at least every modern generation. No, really, I mean, I'll show you, there's a quote from Plato discussing older workers or older people saying that young people are lazy. But the unfortunate reality is that as a society, instead of these older workers or each generation during their period of time, instead of pointing up at the people that are actually undercutting their wages or making them work more hours for less pay, or reducing retirement benefits, reducing paid time off, aren't able to keep up with the cost of living, or reducing health insurance benefits,
Yep.
you know, you name it. And
Pensions, like, there's more and more that they're taking. And these are the same people that worked, you know, years ago, probably bought their house for $50,000. Then they want you to buy the same house with maybe $25,000, maybe 50,000 worth of upgrades to it for 400,000. You know, every house now is 250, 300,000. You can't find a house that's nice in a good area for under 100,000 no more. You can't, like, you used to be able to work a part-time job and pay for a house and a mortgage. It's absolutely crazy what they expect from you now.
instead of pointing at the people actually doing the issues, what better person to point your fingers at than the little guy that has no power to stand up for themselves?
Yeah.
And the biggest thing that I really cannot understand is that when you hear a hiring manager or somebody, say they're traditionally in their 50s or so, the people that really have power to be making these decisions, the people on the news, you know, pumping out these headlines, when they say the young generation is lazy and entitled, the likelihood of that 55-year-old individual saying that, having a kid that is graduating from college or already has,
Yep.
is unbelievably high. So are you saying the reality is that every Gen Z is lazy except for your kid? Are you saying that you had absolutely no responsibility in helping parent the future generation? How do you point at young kids and say, yeah, they're addicted to social media or to their phone? Who handed them their phone?
You guys did. That's why there's these
Older
iPad
adults. Do we have
babies
no
now.
responsibility for the country and the reality that we're a part of?
Facts.
You're telling me that every single systemic decay falls on the little guy. Or falls on all these other things, right? Like a massive narrative is that the entire job market is collapsing because of minimum wage. Right? Like that is a real argument. I get that on every single one of my videos.
No, because everything has gone up but wages. Like inflation has gone up so crazily and so high compared to like the cost of living, inflation, all of that has just risen up exponentially. And then wages has just been barely inching while it's just going, but you're barely inching, and it's honestly just gonna break the scale how far it's gonna be from the top to the bottom in this country. And so if we're not actually looking at these things, it's just going to keep getting worse and worse.
So it's blanketed statement after blanketed statement after blanketed statement, and we fail to recognize that we are all experiencing the exact same thing. The
Facts.
thing that makes me the most sad out of all of this is that, you know, Gen Z, as a generation, we have the opportunity to genuinely make a difference because we recognize the issue. We are at the age to where we are being vocal about it. It's kind of bad enough that we have to address it. And so what we have to do is we have to not only pay the burden of previous decades of economic mismanagement, but we also have to start envisioning the future. But the unfortunate reality is that as a generation, predominantly, again, not every single person, but predominantly,
Yep.
we've lost hope. We've already given up. There's a reason why Gen Z is called the nihilistic generation. And so if you've already given up and you have no
I've
hope,
never heard that actually.
then we're grouped right in with every other generation. The unfortunate reality is that if you have a little brother, a little sister, or a little son or daughter or grandson or granddaughter,
Facts.
that in a decade and 15 years from now, we are going to hear the exact same thing from them, that there's no entry-level jobs. And they're going to look at us and they're going to say that we had it so easy. They're going to be upset that we didn't do more for them. And it's a travesty. That is going to be such a sad reality if we're deciding that that is the path that we're going to go on, that there is no hope, that there's no chance for unity.
Well, my only thing is a lot of us are just now starting to get into the position to actually do something. Because you've been put down for so long. It's like, you know, I'm 30. Most of my friends now are just now starting to become managers, GMs, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8 years in their business and established, you know, getting business credit. Like, so now is a time where a lot of us are just starting to get there. But we not only have to build a path for like our younger brothers and sisters and cousins, you know, but also a lot of us are now new fathers and new parents. So having them actually like have to worry about the future, have to worry about the children, have to worry about what's going to be on the plate can kind of be stressful, because it's like you get the job, you stay for a little bit, maybe the business not even doing good, you don't even know, and then you're out of a job. Nothing you did wrong. You could have been the best employee, now you out the job. It's tough.
There's no chance for anything that we can do. You know, I think at the end of the day, that's an individual decision that we're making. I don't think anybody is forcing us to decide that. But the fact of the matter is that yes, things will not get better if we give up. Yep. There's no incentive for the people in power to have things get better.
Exactly.
But there's a lot of incentive for us to demand that from them. Going back to the societal stigma.
And we're not gonna, if we don't come together enough and actually unite, then the corporate greed and everything that's happening is just going to build exponentially to the point where we almost have no fight, unless we just totally kill the whole system. So if you're someone that's in this range, the Gen Z, the millennial range, I implore you to really lock in, not only for yourself, but also for your family. Get multiple streams of income, build a product or a business or something that you can make money off of passively. And hey, if you got a job, keep it until you get something better, and make sure that something better really is better, not just for the short run or the long haul. But you already know I'm not the judge here, guys. You all are, so drop down in the comments what you're thinking on this one, and we'll see you in the next great video. This should be right around here on the screen.